Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, President-elect Bongbong Marcos is taking on the helm as agriculture chief as he seeks to address a looming food crisis. The incoming president also plans to abolish irrelevant attached agencies to streamline the department. And what is the Marcos administration's pandemic recovery plan? Incoming Socio-economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan and former Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol join us live. President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says he will be taking on the role of agriculture chief for now. Marcos says his team foresees an increase in food prices in the coming months because of external forces. What are the plans of the incoming administration to address the looming food crisis and to jumpstart the country's economy? Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have incoming Socio-economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Secretary, good to have you again. Good to see you. Welcome to the source, sir.
Thank you, Pinky, and good morning to you and to our listeners.
So, President-elect Bongbong Marcos takes the agriculture portfolio, he says, for the meantime. This certainly highlights the priority given by the incoming administration on the agriculture sector. But he says that the problem is severe enough. Could you help us understand, what is the situation we are facing now in terms of food supply?
Well, we have discussed quite extensively the agricultural issues with the president, with the economic team. Obviously, the things that were brought up to the president were issues that are already so well known actually to the sector. These are the root causes of our sector's sector's poor performance, mainly the very low productivity of our agriculture, the low profitability of agriculture, and this stems from the way our agencies have been governed, as well as the policies and priorities that have been put in place for agriculture. So these are policy issues, these are structural issues, these are investment issues, all coming into play that explain the very poor performance of agriculture in the past several years, not just for during this years of the current administration, but even way back. So it's high time that these issues are addressed, because otherwise, even after the current crisis, looming food crisis, we will continue to have these problems and continue to drag down the overall economy.
Secretary, are we experiencing already a food crisis, or would you still call it a looming food crisis?
Food prices have risen already, and as you know, the avian flu disease problem has been with us. That has led to crippling price increases of meat. Rice prices have also been a problem. While the tariffication has brought down the rice tariffication has brought down the prices quite a bit. They are still high, and the issues that concern our farmers, the low profitability of rice farming, agricultural farming in general, have to be faced. So with that, I would say that our agriculture is in crisis.
Is it gonna get worse in the coming months?
Well, yeah, these current problems in agriculture have been exacerbated by the global supply disruptions now. And these disruptions, these developments in the global market for food are likely to continue in the coming months. Actually, some of the exporting countries are now planning to hold back to limit their exports to also protect their citizens
Right.
from the prices. So, and this, while many countries, including us, are going to address to these realities by increasing their production, but there is a time lag. So in the meantime, we really have to sit down and tighten our belts and protect those who must be protected. I'm referring to the poor and the vulnerable, where we have resources limited as they are. We should provide assistance to these groups so that they will not feel the disproportionately the burden of the shocks.
Secretary, sabi po ni incoming President Bongbong Marcos, and sabi po niya, I've said this time and time again, going back to basics, which is rebuilding the value chain of agriculture. Ano ho ba ang ibig sabihin nito at saan ho ba dapat mag-umpisa kapag sinabing going back to the basics?
Well, ang basics naman dito, Pinky, is that all these regulations, all these programs for agriculture are put in place to raise productivity, to increase profitability of farming, and to the extent that we have this were not addressed or were addressed so slowly suggests that there are leaky buckets, that the resources that have been put into agriculture are not put in their proper places. And if you look back and say, where are the sources of this productivity growth? Where should they be coming from? Obviously, they would come from new varieties, new technologies, access to modern farming practices, and if these are not being delivered by our agencies, then farmers would not have access to those technologies. Of course, there are many other factors like access to finance, the value chain, to the extent that we have not linked farmers properly to the marketplace. Like we know that the markets are in the urban areas, but the produce in rural areas, and there are bottlenecks from the farm to the market, and these have not been addressed. I mean, those should be addressed, and those are really the basic ones that the president is referring to. And here, the performance of the agencies is crucial, because if you look at the protection extended by our government to agriculture, is quite extensive. It's not that pathetic compared to countries of comparable levels of development, but it is, I believe, the way we have governed our agriculture. The resources are going to places where they should not be, and instead of going to projects and activities that increase profitability.
But Secretary, doon po sa sinabi niyong mga issues that need to be tackled as access to finance, technology, even direct market links, etc., and many others of support to our farmers. What is imperative? Ano hong pwedeng gawin sa lalong madaling panahon? I guess, ang tanong ko po, kung meron pong tatlo na kailangan pagtuunan ng pansin sa lalong madaling panahon, ano ho ito?
Sa akin, ang pinakauna, the rapid increases in prices are already here and are likely to get worse before they even get better. So we must protect the most, the poorest and the vulnerable groups in our society. We have to strengthen our safety nets programs, yung ayuda natin, but this time, make sure that the ayuda really go to deserving groups and not just to anyone. And so the president has actually been instructing us to ramp up the digitalization, the national ID, so that we can use these technologies, modern technologies, to target the poor, so that there will be less leakage to underserving groups. So that's one that we need to do right away. The second one is as I said earlier, the good thing about agriculture and particularly food is that the production cycle is quite short.
Okay.
Unlike in manufacturing, where you have to establish plants, before you can start producing, and that could take years. Here, the cycles for rice is in 4 months you get the harvest. So if you start planning now, putting the tools that we need to increase production, we should be able to get those increases in production before the end of the year. Of course, there are risks. There's typhoon that we
Right.
cannot control, and we have to know where the areas where that are least sensitive to this kind
Vulnerable. Yeah.
of events. So yun mga dapat inaasikaso na natin. I'm sure that our agriculture officials are doing that.
Okay.
Just that.
We'll be taking a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, incoming Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Secretary, just a quick question on, again, what we need, the agricultural sector. Yung pong pinangako ni President-elect Bongbong Marcos na 20 pesos per kilo na rice, is this attainable, yes or no? And if so, kailan ho kaya?
Attainable to the extent that we are, as I said earlier, be quite programmatic in the sense of targeting this lower price food to the needy groups. But I don't see that ayuda should be given to everyone. I don't think we have the luxury of resources for that. We have to use our resources, limited resources, properly.
You talk about ayuda, Secretary, and there are programs. You are also looking at a more efficient way of being able to distribute this. My first question on ayuda, sir, is, are you ready to give more aid, first, sir, to the two sectors that you have mentioned, the poor and the vulnerable?
Yes, we are. As I said earlier, we are ramping up the implementation of the national ID system, and also the digitalization in government. And with respect to the ID system, we believe that we can reduce substantially the leakage. So that we can reach more people, more deserving people for the limited resources. I'm talking of when I talk about the poor, I'm talking about not those in urban areas, but also the poor in rural areas, particularly our farmers. So I understand that we have a registry already involving farmers, small farmers, and we have also a registry involving the poor that is with the SWD, and all we need to do is to link them with this ID system and with the bank, so that they can access this ayuda without the need for intermediaries, which lead to to dissipation of the funds.
I just need to say this. If we're talking about the national ID system, is that what you're referring to, Sec?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
because
the national ID, we understand that the slow,
right,
very slow spread of this technology. Even myself, I've not been issued yet my ID.
Me too, sir.
So that's why we have been sitting down with our Philippine Statistics Authority and the other agencies involved in the production of the ID. But we believe that having seen and heard about the issues, we believe that this can be ramped up, and hopefully we can get most of these IDs either in physical form or in e-form, electronic form, already available before the end of the year. And that's the instruction of the President. Is
that for everyone, or is it going to focus first on those that may need it sooner than the rest?
Initially, we'll focus on those that are where the poor are most concentrated. And that obviously when the farming community and the poor. But the Philippine Statistics Authority has identified 92 million Filipinos for the issuance of the ID. This involved the 5 years old and above population. And we intend to cover those before the end of the year.
Secretary, sorry, so you're saying that with the 92 million eligible for the national ID, the target is by the end of the year, all those 92 million will be able to get their IDs, whether it be physical or electronic?
That's the target. We still confirm the logistics with the agencies concerned. The printing of the ID is with the Bangko Sentral. The generation of the e-ID is with the Philippine Statistics Authority, and so we just need to coordinate these agencies.
Secretary, let's talk about oil. You said that obviously high prices of oil are a headache to any administration. This was a statement you made with the Inquirer, and you said that you need to crunch the numbers. What are you seeing right now? What is your estimate? First of all, ano ho bang estimate niyo kung gaano pa kataas aakyat ang presyo ng produktong petrolyo? We need to start with the basics, sir, so that we can go on further.
I don't think that anyone in the world knows that, Pinky, at the moment. It is so much depends on the instability in Ukraine and the other places where the supply chains are affected. But we do think, given that we know about the current developments in Ukraine, we do think that this problem will linger for the rest of the year. And so what we have been talking about at the cabinet or incoming cabinet is to at least protect some sectors are vulnerable to this oil prices, with the view of helping those segments of our population that are vulnerable to these oil prices. And we're talking about public transport, for example, where assistance should be provided.
Are you planning to expand the ayuda that is presently being given to millions of Filipinos?
Yes, to the extent that we can reduce the leakage that I was mentioning about. I think the ayuda was so expensive, was so the way it was implemented in the context of the COVID, because we did not have the technology and the means to quickly separate the deserving from the non-deserving. So everybody was given ayuda, whether you are living in luxury village, in gated subdivisions or not. And I do think that is a very unnecessary use of limited resources.
Okay. Secretary, excise taxes and VAT, are you even open? Is the incoming administration even open to lifting it, suspending it temporarily? I want to add this, Senator Coco Pimentel is already urging, of course, the Marcos administration to suspend fuel excise taxes and turn instead to what is called a belt tightening growth target. I interviewed him about this, sir, just on a last note, and he was saying this is almost what is called a basic commodity that should not be taxed even in the long term. Your thoughts on that, sir?
My own thought, and this does not still reflect the cabinet as a whole, because our approach, as I mentioned earlier, is to be more targeted. We can't have a subsidy program that covers everyone, even those who are least needy of those assistance. No. So I would like to see more targeted, efficiently targeted ayuda system, and with that, together with the technologies, that innovations in the delivery that we would like to put in place that should reduce substantially the amount of the ayuda while reaching more needy groups. So that's the kind of approach that I would like to see, given the very limited resources. The problem here is, Pinky, is that we want our economy to recover fast. Okay, and that requires a lot of resources too. At the same time, there are many other sectors that have been hurt so badly by the pandemic. I'm talking about the economic scars that were created in our educational system, in our health system, and those requires a lot of resources. So even as we want to reduce sources of revenue, we have to be mindful of those needs of our society, and I think we need to achieve a balanced, well-balanced approach to this issue, so that we can move on and we can get our recovery as fast as we can.
Incoming NEDA Chief Arsenio Balisacan. Sir, thank you so much for your time, and I hope to speak to you again.
Thank you very much, Pinky.
And coming up, what are the challenges of being an agriculture secretary? Former agriculture chief Manny Piñol joins us live after the break. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, former Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol. Secretary Piñol, good to see you too. Let me ask my first question already. Ano po inyong reaction that incoming President Bongbong Marcos will be taking on the helm of the Agriculture Department for the meantime?
Brilliant move.
I'm sorry, sir?
Brilliant.
A brilliant move. Okay. Why?
I've been there, and maski gaano pa kaganda yung mga programa mo, you have to go through a gauntlet, And the first gauntlet would be the economic managers, who would have to endorse your programs and your proposals to the DBCC, which is the Development Budget Coordinating Committee. From there, you have to go through Congress. At kung saan ay siyempre yung mga congressmen will have to lobby for their pet projects. Then from there, you go to the Senate, where you will be grilled and asked to defend your budget. I don't see this coming with the President acting as the Secretary of Agriculture. Ipapatawag ba siya ng Kongreso?
It'll almost be as if it's a shortcut when talking about the budget of the DA.
And this is a big break for agriculture, actually. This is unprecedented, Pinky.
Yeah.
This is the first time in the history of the country that the President has assumed the position in a concurrent capacity of DA Secretary. And I believe that this is a big boost to the agriculture sector.
Right.
Especially so, since he has emphasized that agriculture will be the foundation of his economic recovery program post-COVID-19.
But where should the focus first be?
I took cue from his statement. Go back to the basic.
Yeah.
Indeed, napakarami nating programa sa DA, sa agriculture, na minsan wala namang kabuluhan sa pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan ng ating mga mamamayan, magsasaka, consumers. If I would interpret his statement of going back to the basic, I think he is going to address first what the Filipino people need. Number one, we all know that pinaka-importanting commodity, which is not supposed to be a commercial commodity, is rice, because it is a symbol of the survival of the Filipino family. Pag wala kang bigas sa iyong palabigasan, ikaw ng pinaka-pobreng Pilipino. Number two, I believe he will have to look at the basic food commodities needed by the Filipino family to survive this impending crisis. And I would be looking at fish sufficiency, poultry, pork, meat, vegetable, and fruits. And I think he will focus on these areas. And I have been hearing his repeated mention of the Food Terminal Incorporated, which I agree would be a very critical agency to ensure that there will be food sufficiency and supply stability in this country.
Not much has been really discussed or heard about the food terminal, but what exactly will its role be in ensuring some sort of food security in the country?
You know, Pinky, the FTI, or the Food Terminal Incorporated, established 54 years ago by his father, was actually the micro-level implementation of the traditional market day in many towns and villages all over the country, where the farmers bring their produce to the market, the consumers go there and buy.
Okay.
Ito yung macro. Now, why is this critical to our food sufficiency program? Because our problem in the country is not really the lack of food, but the very difficult process of transporting goods, food, commodities from one island to another.
Logistics.
Did you know that it is more expensive to bring bananas from Mindanao to Metro Manila than to ship Cavendish bananas from Davao to Japan? So ito yung problema natin. But with FTI, kapag na-organize mo yung FTI in the key production areas to buy the produce of the farmers based on the identified basic food commodities needed by the country right now, then you will be able to stabilize kasi nationwide yung operations, nationwide yung network, which the private businessmen and the private traders cannot possibly do. Only government can do that. You transport goods from one province to another, but first you come up with a national food supply and demand map to determine which province produces what commodity in excess of what it needs and which province needs it. So ito yung role ng FTI expanded on a national scale.
What about the agencies under the Department of Agriculture that the incoming president was saying that need reorganization or restructuring?
Oh yes, I agree. There are actually agencies of government under the Department of Agriculture that should be downsized, no? Retrofitting ka nga. Kailangan maisama na doon sa ibang ahensya kasi nagduduplicate na yung functions.
Which agencies would these be?
Well, number one, VSWM and NIA. NIA is now under the Department of Agriculture. That's the agency in charge of irrigation. BSWM, Bureau of Soils and Water Management, is also involved in small irrigation. So those are duplicating functions actually.
Okay.
Isa yun sa mga tinitignan natin na pwedeng i-gather into or i-lump into one agency para maging effective na isa na lang programa. Yung programa, for example, sa farm to market roads, ang daming ahensya ang nagsasagawa niyan. DA is one, DAR is another, Philippine Coconut Authority, NIA is another, DTI, tourism. All of these programs actually could be lumped into one program. The Rural Roads and Bridges Construction Program. Para lahat ng pondo, isang plano lang. Yun ang experience namin yan, Pinky.
How interesting.
Nagbabangga-bangga yung mga kalsada.
Opo, how interesting you say that. Because farm-to-market roads, Secretary, parang madaming mga ahensya na kailangan o pwede mong puntahan when in fact pwedeng parang sinasabi niyo iisa lamang. Secretary,
Yes.
Unfortunately, I've run out of time. Just very quick. Ito hubang 20 pesos per kilo ng bigas, achievable ho ba ito?
Alam mo, tinatanong ko niyan, kung gusto ng presidente, pwedeng gawin, but it's not advisable. It's not economically viable. It will cause government financial losses, big time.
Because basically, government will have to subsidize it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because
Okay.
the rule of thumb, Pinky, is the price of rice divided by 2 is the price of palay. So kung 20 yung bigas mo, 10 piso lang yung palay ng farmer, malulugi yung farmer, hindi papayag yun.
All right. Former Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol, sir, thank you also for your time.
Thank you, Pinky.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.